Hello everyone, and welcome to the specialist trading presentation of the Dynamic Duo. Welcome, my name is Stephen Primo. I am the president and founder of Specialist Trading, and in today's webinar I'm going to speak about two of our most consistent techniques and trading methods when joined together really add much more success and consistency to your trading. Now, just to give you a little bit of background about our site, we are an educational site, so we're all about teaching you how to empower yourself and how to make your own trading decisions. We feel that too many traders are losing or having really a difficult time in the markets is because they're trying to rely on outside sources or not really studying enough about the markets. So we give you all the information and things that I've accumulated in my 37 years of trading. I first started trading on the floor of the Pacific Stock Exchange. I was a specialist, hence that's where we get the name Specialist Trading. I was a specialist on the trading floor for a total of 9 years for Donaldson, Lufkin, and Jen Rett. I left the floor, the trading floor, in the mid-90s to manage money and to also teach my own style of trading. And just 6 years ago, I started Specialist Trading, where all I do is mentor my students in the things that I personally use in my own trading. So this promises to be a great presentation. Get out your pencils and papers so you can write down all the information we're going to present today. But before, as always, we ask that you please take a moment to view our disclaimer. I'm going to show you a lot of performance results using this dynamic duo, but please remember that we can in no way guarantee that any of the results I'm about to present to you will be repeated in the future. So please take a moment to view our disclaimer, and then we shall begin today's webinar. Now, also, I'd like to invite each and every one of you to follow us on Twitter. That's our handle name right there below, abbreviated. It's at Specialist Trading, at SPCLSTTRADG. We post and give a lot of free information, some videos, some snapshots. We also tell you about current signals that we may have just recently posted. So I invite each and every one of you to follow us on Twitter. Now, as I stated at the very beginning, we are first and foremost an educational company. We are all about teaching you how to empower yourself so that you make your own trading decisions. Just go back and think about your last 10, 20 trades and where you got the decision to trade, to actually pull the trigger on that particular trade. Was it someone you saw on TV? Was it someone, a trade that a friend mentioned? Was it something you heard about in a trading room or a chat room? Most traders make their decisions based off this, but what we want to do is give you the tools and information so that you can make your own trading decisions. Once you become a part of the process, it's been my experience that that will lead you on the road to consistency. So we want you to become a part of the process, not relying on outside sources, looking at some tools that will help you, and we're there with you every step of the way, teaching you how to trade with the Specialist Edge. Even though we provide our members with strategy signals and with ways in which to trade, it's more about having you take all that information and molding it to fit your needs and your style. You can either trade aggressively or conservatively. Once again, we're trying to educate you so that you can get on that road to consistency. This is the way I was taught when I was first trading on the floor, and this is what got me to be consistent in my trading, and this is what I try to pass on to all of my students. Okay, so we're going to talk about the dynamic duo. There are two techniques that we have specifically at Specialist Trading. Just want to make a quick announcement before we begin. I know a lot of people like to ask questions. If you happen to have a question, kindly write it down, or just remember, I promise I'll get to it at the very end of today's class. It won't be that long, but I have a lot of great information to show and share with you, so we don't want to slow down the webinar. So if you have a question, just wait till the last 5 or 10 minutes, and then we'll answer each and every one of them, okay? All right, so let's talk about the very first method in our dynamic duo, and this is the Pet D, okay? So I know some of you may be aware of what the Pet D is, but what exactly is it? What is the Pet D and what does it do? Well, firstly, it's a proprietary algorithm. This is something that I was introduced to on the floor. I had to, unfortunately, come up, it's a small calculation you have to make. I had to come up with it on a daily basis because, once again, this was 30 years ago. We didn't have the advent of high-speed computers and of programmers, so this was something I could only use for daily charts, okay? And what the Pet D actually is it's a short-term trend identifier. Okay, so it's not so much a trading system or a strategy in and of itself, but it's a great way to identify the short-term trend. And this is a fantastic tool because if you know what the short-term trend is, you know if you're in sync with what's going to be happening fairly soon. And many times this short-term trend identifier will tell you in advance before the larger term trend has changed. So this is a great, great tool. And by the way, we have two settings of this particular tool. We have a regular setting for the PET-D, and we also have a slower setting. And those are the only two settings we have for this. We're not going to try and change or abbreviate all these different rules and things. We're just going to keep them at those two settings. And one is for staying in trades much longer. One is for staying in trades rather, on a regular basis. Now, how we've put this together, it's a color bar tool. And now that we have high-speed computers and programmers, what we did was rather than having to write this little formula down each and every day, we can now have it done automatically for us in a color bar tool telling us when a short-term trend has taken place. So this is how it works. When you have a series of green bars, the PET-D is telling you that the short-term trend is up, as you see right here in this ideal scenario. But when you have a series of red bars, the PET-D is telling you that the short-term trend is down. I know it seems very simple, but this is an extremely powerful tool. How many times have you taken a trade and you're immediately stopped out or it's immediately wrong? Many times it's because you're out of sync with the short-term trend. So let me show you how this could work. Here's an older chart of Twitter going up into the first week of July. As we see here in May, it had a really large sell-off, and then right around the beginning of June, it bottomed out and then went back up. How could we have known in advance when these larger moves were going to take place? Well, this is a static chart, but once we add the color bar of the PET-D, we see here that way up at the very top, we started to turn red, and at the very bottom, we had kind of a whipsaw back and forth, but then we went green. So here's the rule. You look for 3 solid closes in a particular color to tell you that you have confirmation that you're in that direction. So if we look at these first 3 closes here, this was your indication telling you that the short-term trend is most definitely going lower. So look what happened here. Roughly from all the way from 41 all the way down to 30, the trend was much lower. At this time, it kind of oscillated from green back down to red, but remember, we need to see 3 colors of in consistency, 3 bars. It doesn't matter if it's a daily bar, a weekly bar, or a 5-minute bar. Now, first week of June, what do we see? We see 3 consecutive green bars. So right here, it was telling us that the short-term trend is up. And we went basically from 34 all the way up to 41. How about a weekly chart of the E-mini, or basically looking at the overall markets? As we see here, looking back in hindsight, we've been in a steady uptrend on this weekly chart going back to the beginning of 2013, going back over a year and a half ago, as you see here, 2013, January. How could we have known that we were going to stay in an uptrend? Many times on these sell-offs, people thought, well, that's the top of the market. We should get ready to go short. There's some news happening in the world or some economic conditions. We have to get out. Well, if we added the PET-D on this weekly chart, we would have seen here that we had this consistency of green bars. Every once in a while, we had 1 or 2 reds, but remember, you would have needed 3 red bars in a row to tell you that the trend has changed, and so far, it has not changed. How about the British pound on a 4-hour chart? A lot of Forex traders like to trade the British pound on that time frame. Okay, so as we see here, going back just a couple of weeks here to the 18th, we see here that we've been in a sustained downward move on this 4-hour chart. How could the PET-D have helped us in being in sync with this? Well, we simply add the PET-D. We see here that we've been going lower, and the bars started changing red on the 17th. We had 3 consecutive closes with the bars colored red. So right here, you could have looked to gone short, or if you wanted to, you could have just sold on some particular methods that we teach you and had a really nice profit going short the British pound. Now, we can even go in a different time frame. Let's look at a monthly chart of the S&P 500. All right, this is the S&P 500 going back roughly 20 years, back to 1994. We see we have these really nice swings going straight up until 1999, 2000, when the dot-com bubble burst, and then the market fell out of bed. But then we regained back in 2003, went all the way back up to 2008 roughly, where we topped out again with the banking crisis. And now we sustained ourselves and we continue to go higher. How could the PET-D have helped us with our long-term trading? Say we're using this for a portfolio or an IRA account, so that we know when to be in when the market is rising and when to get out. We simply add the standard PET-D, as we see here, and once we have 3 consecutive green closes, you're in the market from 1995 all the way to 3 consecutive red closes, which would be roughly middle of 2000. You would have missed all this sell-off all of this crash. And then you had 3 more closings in green. So this would have told you now that it's time to get back in the market. In mid-2003, you could have ridden it all the way back up to the end of 2007. Before 2008 even started, you would have been exiting on 3 red closes. You would have missed all of this crash, the banking crisis. And then right here in 2010 with 3 green closes, you could have gotten back in. Now we've had some red bars here, but never enough to have 3 green in a row. So it's just telling us how well this tool works in any market, in any time frame, and in any direction. This also works great with the news. Many times we will see advance warnings of what's going to happen even before the news comes out. I know a lot of people love to rely on outside sources such as fundamental news to make their trading decisions. Remember I said at the very beginning of this presentation, it's our opinion that most traders lose because they rely or depend on outside sources such as news to help them decide what to do. Well, let's look at a chart here of Open Table. Now this stock, a lot of people are familiar with this. It had a buyout actually in May. And as we see here, coming into that particular scenario, the stock was really doing nothing. It was roughly around 65 to 70 in a range, going lower, coming back higher, going lower, higher. So someone who was interested in this could have said, well, there's really no range, there's no trend. I'm going to stay out of this until I see something or some news comes out. Okay? Well, had you done that, you would have missed this nice buyout, I believe, in June on the 16th, where it went up, I believe, to $103, $104. How could the PET D have helped us in this scenario? Remember, people love to rely on news. They say the news always tells you what to do, and you can't know that in advance. Well, if we applied the PET D, we see here that the PET D was red up until the end of May. And right here, we had 3 consecutive green closes on the 27th of May. So it gave an uptrend signal a full 3 weeks in advance before that buyout. So there were ways you could have said, listen, if you were short Open Table, you could have covered your short. Or if you were looking to get long, there were a number of different strategies and ways in which to get long. Why? Because the short-term trend was telling you it's going higher. So you see how valuable this tool is using the PET D. Remember, there are 2 settings. The settings I used were all the regular standard settings. I believe for the longer term, which was the monthly chart of the S&P, I used the slower setting. But feel free to experiment. Remember, we want you to decide what works best for you. So that was method number 1. You see how valuable and how important that can be in helping you with your trading decisions. How about method number 2? Well, it's strategy number 4. This is by far our most consistent strategy and our most popular. Why? Because it transfers onto any market in any time frame and in any direction. It's a great, great strategy. I personally use this myself in my daily trading. And let me just share with you some of the highlights of this particular strategy. It's virtually for all traders. In other words, you do not have to be trading 50 years in order to trade this. I've been trading for nearly 40 years, and I use the standard method to trade this, okay? So it doesn't matter if you're trading 40 years or just for 4 weeks. Everyone gets the same rules. Now, we also teach you how to trade more advanced or teach you how to trade more conservative. Remember, it's up to you how you want to decide how to trade it. It's designed for traders looking to catch quick momentum moves. So you're in and out rather quickly. If you like to stay in longer, you can do that. Once again, we teach you how to do that. Its intensity level from 1 to 3, with 1 being the most intense, meaning that you have to virtually be glued to your computer, and 3 being the least intense, meaning that you can enter your orders and walk away. Strategy number 4 is a 2, so it's right in the middle. It's a very, very comfortable way to trade. It uses only 1 indicator, so it's extremely simple, okay? And in fact, I'm going to give you 2 of the rules of this in just a moment. This, as I said earlier, can be applied to any time frame, any direction, and any market. And I'll show you some examples in just a second. One of the best things for our students who are learning how to see where strategy signals are generated is we supply everyone with the Strategy 4 add-on, which automatically generates buy and sell arrows, so you can know when a buy signal is valid and when it's not. So this is a great tool when you're learning how to spot when a signal has been generated. Ultimately, though, we want you to be able to spot them on your own. You'll be able to spot them very easily just after a few weeks, and you can decide to use that tool or not. It's that simple. That's how simple the strategies are. But lastly, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that every signal is a winner, okay? It's a great strategy, but remember, our edge here is consistency. We're not trying to tell you that every trade is going to generate hundreds and hundreds of percent. We're more about hitting singles at specialist trading. So we want to just, have some type of nice upward slope to our equity curve. More of a two-step forward, one-step back approach, okay? Once again, my 37 years, that is what will sustain you. Not some fly-by-night system that generates thousands of percent in 1 year and then loses it all the next year. We're more about teaching you sound things that have worked over time, fundamental things, and then just consistently trading with them. And so over time, you'll be trading 10, 20, 30 years down the road. All right, so these are two of the rules that are in this particular strategy. Here's one of the main rules. We're looking for a bar that closes in its top 25%. This is extremely important. So if we're looking to go long, we want to find a bar that closes in the top 25%. This is giving us an indication to buy. So we're never going to buy when a bar closes on its low. We're not trying to pick bottoms with strategy number 4. We're trying to catch a momentum move. Now conversely, if a bar, whatever time frame you're looking at, closes in the bottom 25%, well then we're looking to go short. That is an indication to sell. Once again, there are about 3 or 4 more other rules that need to be qualified here, but this is an indication to sell. Now the other rule I want to give to you for free is that we're only going to get buy indications. They can only be generated above the 50-period simple moving average. So in other words, we're looking for those bars that close in the top quarter of their range, and they must be above the 50-period simple moving average, okay? Conversely, strategy number 4, sell indications can only be generated below the 50-period. So these are 2 of the most important rules of the strategy which I'm giving you right now. You can use these actually to make your own strategy if you'd like. You can apply them to something you're currently using. You can use them as a basis for a strategy you'd like to, or once again, these are the main rules for strategy number 4. All right, so let's look at some examples. Remember, for buy signals, we're looking for bars above the 50 or closing above the 50 that close in the top quarter. For sell signals, closing below the 50 in the bottom quarter. Let's start out with stocks for all you stock traders. And let's start off looking at Apple, okay? Apple has been trading pretty steadily up for the last month or so. But if we look going all the way back to June, we see that we were in a rather nice sell-off. We see that we were coming lower and lower. A lot of people were saying, well, Apple's probably going to have a sustained sell-off now, and most likely we should get out or sell it. Not according to our rules. Why? Because firstly, we're above the 50-period simple moving average, and we were looking for a bar that closed in its top 25%. Now, if we see here, here's a bar that closed in the top 25%, but it wasn't a signal. Why? Because it didn't meet all of the rules of the particular strategy. So we continue to track, and we come down to this date here, and we see that here's another bar that closed in the top 25%. It's above the 50 period. So this was automatically generated as a valid signal. So we can now look at this and say, well, we now have a signal to go long. And look what happened. See how simple that is? Let's go on to COH, Coach, all right? Obviously, we're below the 50-period simple moving average, so this means we're only looking for sell indications, all right? How could the automatic add-on have helped us with this? Well, if we wanted to go short COH, look at all of the signals that were generated from April all the way to the first or second week of July, all to go short. See all these bars closed in their bottom 25%. They're below the 50 period, and they met all the other rules in the strategy, which we can't divulge now because it wouldn't be fair. How about UA? Okay, we see here that the stock going back just about a month ago was basically doing nothing. It's going sideways, just treading water. Someone looking at this would say, well, you know, there's really nothing happening. There's no trend. I'm going to stay out of this particular stock. And we know that that's not true. You can't see the 50-period moving average here, but we are above the 50-period moving average. And here's a bar that closed in its top 25%. But it did not meet all of the rules, so no signal was generated. But as we go further on down to the 18th, we see here that here's another bar closing in the top 25%. Even though you can't see the 50-period simple moving average, the automatic add-on knows when price is above the 50, and so it generated a buy signal. Remember, this will an arrow will pop up when a valid signal is generated, and look what happened. In the next 5 days here, you would have actually had a nice profit, over 11-point gain in just 4 days, actually. All right, CMG, here's one I want you to look at, and this is extremely important because I'm going to be talking about this later on in today's presentation. It's been in the news a lot, Chipotle. As you see here, first thing we look at is where's price in relation to the 50 period. We're above, so this means we're looking for bars that close in the top 25%, and we have a signal that was generated on the 18th. And look what happened. We all know what happened after that. The stock went straight up, and I believe it went up about 75 points in the next 2 days. Okay, so this was a valid signal. Please remember this chart, though. We're going to talk about this in just a few moments. All right, let's look at some E-mini examples because it just doesn't work on daily bars. We can work on different time frames in different markets. We're looking at a daily bar of the E-mini going back all the way to May. We see here we've been in this nice sustained upward move when this snapshot was taken, I believe, on the 21st. Okay. Look at all the buy signals that were generated using strategy number 4. Each one was a profitable trade. You could have taken these or used them as indications to know that the market was going higher, and it could have given you the validation to take a signal in something else. How about if we go to a 5-minute time frame? Well, this was on the 17th. This was just less than a couple of weeks ago. Prices, for all intents and purposes, below the 50 period simple moving average. So we want to go short on this 5-minute time frame. So look what the automatic add-on did. It generated 3 sell signals. Each one was profitable, or you could have racked them up some very nice trades in the first hour, actually, if you just wanted to take the first trade, and you could have been done for the rest of the day. How about the Forex markets? Well, we can apply the exact same strategy, the exact same rules. We look here, we see the euro dollar at this point in this particular snapshot was above the 50 period, but then sold off and went below it. So the automatic software generated 2 buy signals where you could have had some very nice trades here, but then immediately shifted to sell mode when we were closing below the 50 period simple moving average. And look at all these sell signals you could have taken advantage of. This is going back to April all the way till the 3rd week in July. These were all valid signals that members of our strategy number 4 course could have taken when they saw the signals generated. Now, here's something that I want to show you extremely important because remember I told you that we're not going to sit here and tell you that every trade works out. In fact, from time to time, you will see this happen. Here is an example in SNDK. We're above the 50 period, and the software generates a buy signal. So you jump in and you buy, and look what happens. You automatically have a losing trade. In other words, it doesn't work. From the very moment you got in, it was like waiting for you to get in, and you're stopped out with a loss. Okay, so you decide not to trade this anymore because you're thinking, well, this stuff doesn't work. And then another signal is generated about 2 weeks later. You decide not to take it because you don't want to get hurt again, and this one works. Okay, I'm sure we're all familiar with this happening with us before. When the minute we take the trade, it falls out of bed. It doesn't work. We have a loss. And the minute we don't take it, it works perfectly. Okay, so how can we increase our odds for success? Is there any way that we could know when to take the trade and when not to take the trade? How could we increase our odds for success so we have some type of filter so that our odds will increase even more? Not saying that it's going to be 100% right all the time, but now that we have even better odds, well, that's where we present the dynamic duo. This is where the dynamic duo comes into play. And the dynamic duo is simply combining the PET D with the strategy 4, okay? That's all we're doing, but how are we going to apply it? What we're going to do is use it in terms of the signal bar. In other words, we're only going to trade strategy number 4 buy signals that are colored green. Why? Because most likely the trend is in a short-term uptrend, so we're in sync. So if we get a buy signal, obviously the setup bar should be green. So if we look at that scenario again in SNDK, here was a buy, and this bar should be colored green, and here was another buy, and they should both be colored green. Why didn't this one work? Well, if we add the PET D, we see here that it was colored red. So, therefore, this was giving us an indication not to take the trade. Most likely, the short-term trend was still down, so it would be much better just to stay on the sidelines until the trend changed. So you would have bypassed this trade altogether, and guess what? When the second signal was generated, it was colored green. The PET D determined that we were now in a short-term uptrend, and this one worked out. So you see how this tool can really help you increase your odds for success. And it doesn't really mean that you have to add it to the PET D. This could be applied to any strategy or any trading method that you're currently using. Now for sells, we do the same thing but in reverse. We're only going to take sell signals, strategy number 4 sell signals that are colored red. Why? Because red means the short-term trend is most likely going lower. So if we look at this example in ROST, we see here that we're below the 50 period, so we're only going to be generating sell signals, all right? And the software generated 4 sell signals, but as we see here, the first 3 really didn't go anywhere. In fact, you most likely would have been stopped out of each one. So how could the PET D have helped us? Well, we simply add the PET D because remember, these sell signals should be colored red. Once the PET D is added, we see this was colored green, so we wouldn't have taken it. This was colored green, so we wouldn't have taken it, and so was this one. So we would have bypassed all of these 3 signals until we got to the fourth and final one, which was colored red. So this one was all signal okay. It was good to go. You would have taken it, and look what happened with ROST. Okay? Okay, so let's show you some current strategy 4 and PET D examples, the dynamic duo examples. Here's a snapshot of Tesla going back to April all the way up to this past week or so. We see here that we had 3 sell signals generated by the software, and then we had 3 buy signals. Now each one of these sell signals worked out very well, nice large moves to the downside, and this buy signal worked very well, but these 2 signals have been rather anemic. They haven't really worked out well. How could the PET D have helped us? Well, we simply add the PET D, and we see here that all these 3 sell signals were colored red. So what does that tell us? It gave us confirmation to take the trade. This buy signal was colored green. It gave us confirmation to take the trade. But look at the last 2 buy signals. Now, they're both colored red where they should be colored green. So we would have bypassed them. Not to say that they would have gone up a little bit, but as you can see, it's more of a whipsaw range. We want moves like this and not like this. Okay? So do you see how the PET D would have helped us in Tesla this past 2 or 3 months? How about BBBY? Okay, we have nothing but sell signals because we're below the 50 period. The software automatically knows when you're above or below the 50 period. And each one of these worked out rather well except for the last one. Okay, and they should all be colored red. Why? Because when you're going short, you want the PET D to be in sync and the PET D to tell you that we're most likely going in a lower direction. So it needs to be red. All right, so we simply add the PET D. Each one of these successful signals was colored red. All right, but look at this signal. It was colored green. Now it went down just a bit, a point or so, but look what happened. You would have most likely been stopped out had you tried to stay in longer. So most likely you would have stayed out of this trade and saved yourself a minor loss. How about gold? Okay, this is an older chart of gold. We see here that we had 3 signals, 2 sells, and 1 buy. The first sell worked out perfectly. It went straight down. The second sell really didn't work out at all, and you would have been stopped out. Not only would you have been stopped out, but most likely would have lost when it gapped up higher. So you would have had a rather large loss here. But the third signal, which was a buy, actually worked out very well. So we add the PET D and see how it could have helped us as a filter. Well, this signal was successful because it was colored red. The second signal was colored green, so it would have kept us out of taking that short trade. And lastly, this buy signal was colored green, so it was okay to take. Do you see how simple this is? I'm not going to once again tell you it works on every trade, but I'm going to show you ways in which to really increase your odds for success. PH, we have 2 trades here. Here's a buy that really didn't work out well. It went up a little bit, but if you're looking for the nice trade, it really wouldn't have given it to you. But on the sell side, well, you had a really nice trade, going from 124 down to 118, 6 points in just about a week. Once we added the PET D as a filter, we see here that we never would have taken this trade because it was colored red, okay? But we would have taken the second one because it was colored red, and that's why it worked out. It was in sync with the trend. How about SCTY? It's been in the news a lot. Okay, this stock looked like it was going much, much lower, falling out of bed, but because we know it's above the 50 period, it generated a buy signal, one here and then another one here. Okay, now had you taken this initial buy signal and you would have liked to hold on, you wouldn't have lost any money. But we know, most people, they want to see a profit the minute they get into a trade. So most likely after 3 or 4 days of having a lower closes, you most likely would have exited and thrown in the towel. Okay, how could we have sidestepped that and bypassed that? Well, we add the PET D and see that this was colored red. So we wouldn't have wanted to take this trade. So we would have missed all this whipsaw. We would have taken the trade that was colored green and gone in our direction the moment we got in. because we as traders know we don't like to sit around on a trade a long time because we start to doubt our strategy, we start to doubt our educator, and we start to think this stuff doesn't work. I'm just going to get out before it turns into a large loss. So we want to see things go in our direction immediately. So this could have helped you in that instance. HRS from this past week, as you see here, this past month, I should say, another buy signal, which was rather anemic, followed by a sell signal that worked out tremendously well. Well, we add the PET D, and this was colored red. So you could have bypassed this altogether and waited for the sell signal and made roughly about 4 or 5 points in the next week. Now here's CMG. This is what I wanted to talk about. I talked about earlier. Remember I explained that we have two specific settings. We have a regular or standard PET D setting, which I've been sharing with you, and we have a slower setting, which is good for longer term trading, for staying in the trend a lot longer if you'd like to do that. You know, it's up to you which one you want to use. They don't differ that much. It's just actually once you're in the trade, you can decide. But for actually deciding when you want to get into a trade, you basically just use the standard model. Well, here's CMG. Now, if we look, remember we said that just using strategy number 4 alone, the strategy generated a buy signal on the 18th, which would have generated a roughly 75-point gain in the next 2 or 3 days. Okay, that was great. But if you were using the dynamic duo, you would have applied the PET D and seen that actually you wouldn't have taken that trade. Why? Because it was colored red. So a lot of people who are unfamiliar with our study manual, with our tools, aren't familiar with, doing the research needed, because they will say, well, okay, that's why I missed it out, because I didn't really want to take a buy signal colored red. But if you really learned and saw how strategy 4 and the PET D worked, you would have seen that a full week before, a signal was generated on the 9th, a full buy signal. That was a green bar. Now, although it didn't work out for the first week or so, you still would have been in the trade and had a nice profit. So the beauty of this is that where one doesn't work out, if you follow possibly, just the standard PET D, you actually would have been in this trade a week before. Not much less of a price, but you would have caught all of this. Once again, we think the reason why people lose in the markets or can't take advantage of these nice trades is because they're looking for other sources to tell them what to do. All right, if you study our course material, if you paper trade for a while and learn how to trade it, and you learn how to use all the different settings, learn all the rules for stop placement and for entry, well, you could have taken advantage and actually been in this CMG trade. We know we had students who took advantage and were in the trade. Also, it's a rather expensive stock, so you could have purchased options if you'd like. And lastly, let's go to the E-mini. We see here that we have a 30-minute chart of the E-mini. Now, this buy signal was generated just a week and a half ago, and it didn't do anything. You most likely would have been stopped out, but then you were followed by a nice sell signal. Well, if we use the PET D as a filter, we see that we never would have taken this buy signal because it was colored red, but we would have taken the sell signal because it was colored red, and we would have had a nice profit. If we want to go to a 5-minute chart, this was yesterday's action. This was the first hour of, actually this was the pre-opening Globex markets going into the first hour or two of trading. We see here we had 2 buy signals and then 2 sell signals for a 5-minute bar in yesterday's E-mini trading. The first signal was okay. It didn't work out that great, but the sell signal was much better. Same with the second signal of buys was better. The same with the sell signals. The first sell signal was rather, blah, but the second signal really helped. So if we would have added the PET D, we see here that you would have bypassed this buy signal, waited for this one, and you could have had a good 2 or 3 points gain, bypassed this sell signal because it was colored green, but taken the second one and had a really nice move to the downside. Okay, this was on yesterday's action on a 5-minute chart of the E-mini. And lastly, we look at a weekly chart of the British pound. In hindsight, we see it's been going straight up. These are all valid strategy number 4 signals to buy, but we had one to sell right here, and as you can see, you would have been stopped out with a rather large loss because this is a weekly bar. How could we have avoided that loss? Well, we add the PET D, and this should have been a red bar, but it wasn't. It was colored green, so we never would have taken it, but all the buy signals were green, so you would have taken all of these. Once again, you see, once you study and paper trade and learn how to use the PET D in conjunction with this strategy or with any other strategy you like, you see how you raise your level of consistency. So let's recap. We talked about the PET-D. It's a proprietary algorithm, okay? Because of high-speed computers and because of programmers, we've been able to program it into a color bar tool. We have two specific settings, the regular setting, which is what most of the snapshots you saw today, and we have a slower setting for those people who like to trade longer term. It is a short-term trend identifier, but it works in any market, in any direction, and in any time frame. Then we gave you the second part of the dynamic duo, strategy number 4, our most consistent and popular strategy to date. It works in any market, in any direction, and in any time frame as well. Okay, we gave you two of the rules. The first rule is if we're going long, we have to be above the 50-period moving average. Secondly, we want to find a bar that closes in the top 25% of its range. These are two important requirements of the strategy which we shared with you. You can actually use them and apply them to any strategy you have, or you can build a strategy based off of those two fundamental rules. But they really make up the core of strategy number 4. Okay, so we showed you how well it works, but then we showed you when we combine these two things, when we combine the consistency of strategy number 4 and then add the PET-D as a filter, well then you really have a dynamic duo in trading. You have this really strong, powerful force that gives you the confidence to actually take these trades. So in closing here, before we go to questions and answers, ask yourself, just ask yourself literally what I showed you today from all these chart examples that are just maybe a week or two old. Do you think these edges could have helped your trading this past year? Go back and look at your last 10, 20 trades that you took, most likely the losses. They were probably out of sync with the PET-D, and you most likely were not following the same type of guidelines that we use for strategy number 4. So this is what we want to present to all the people today. Our dynamic duo is on sale. We have a 2-for-1 attendee special. You're not only going to get strategy number 4 and all the rules and all the ways in which to trade it, you're also going to get the Primo Early Trend Detector, or the PET-D. On top of that, you're also going to get 5 videos. We're going to teach you all the entries and exits. It's coming with the signal alerts and the add-on, so you can see the buy and sell arrows as well as the colors changing on your bars, and access to my email. Now, it's too bad we didn't have this webinar on Monday, because I want to share with you some signals that actually happened since this past Monday, 2 days ago. Here was an indication to go long GAS. As you can see, we're oscillating below and then back above the 50 period, but the software generated a buy signal just for strategy number 4. But when we added the PET-D, we see here that it was colored red. So with this dynamic duo combo, had you learned this on Monday, you could have bypassed this and look at the large sell-off that followed after that. Another example was in GIS. This was just a few days ago. As we see here, we're only going short because we're below the 50 period. The software automatically generated a sell signal, and the PET-D colored it red. So it said it was okay to take, and look what happened. That was today's action as of about an hour ago. Okay. Lastly, here's a 3,000 tick bar chart for you intraday traders of the E-mini. This is yesterday's action going into today's first hour. This was just hours ago, trading the E-mini on a tick chart. As we see yesterday's close, we had a really great signal in the last hour or so of the market that would have generated roughly about 4 or 5 points. Coming into the opening today, we gapped up. There were no signals generated until right here. Okay, here was a buy signal generated roughly about 6:50 Pacific time. As you can see, it didn't work out well at all. You would have got stopped out with a large loss. But then another signal was generated about 7:20 to go short, and this turned out to be a nice winner. Okay, how could the PET-D have helped us? Well, we have strategy number 4. We see its consistency. We've got 2 winners out of 3, but how could we even increase that consistency? We add the PET-D. We see here that this was verified by the PET-D to go short, but this buy signal wasn't verified. Why? Because it was colored red. So we would never have taken it, and then we took this one because it was colored red. So in actuality, you would have had 2 out of 2 winners. Okay, you would have bypassed that second signal to go long. So once again, this is a 2-for-1 attendee special, the Primo strategy number 4, as well as the Primo Early Trend Detector tool, all combined in to increase your trading consistency. If you bought these separately, it would roughly cost you about $3,000. We've dropped the price $1,000 down to $19.95. But for the attendees today, we've dropped the price even more down to $14.95. Okay, so just for the next 3 or 4 days, we are going to have this attendee discount of $14.95, and we realize that even for some of you, that may be difficult to come up with that lump sum. So we do have payment plans. You can start using these immediately after putting together a payment plan with any one of our trading consultants. So the beauty of this is you're going to get two of these really consistent tools for a tremendously discounted price. Remember, that comes with instant course access. You'll be able to trade in the next half hour if you like, looking at all this information. Detailed instructions. You'll learn all the entries, exits, and stops. Signal alerts that are generated and given to you. Weekly video trading lessons so that you can try to heighten your trading through more information that I've accumulated in my trading years. Remember, you get the add-ons for both of these so that you can get the automatic buy and sell arrows with strategy number 4, as well as the color bar changer for the Pet D. And then lastly, access to my personal email. You can contact me whenever you like. I was answering emails just roughly before we started the presentation today. So anytime you don't understand something, I'm there with you every step of the way so that you can fully realize how to trade these together. Remember, if we sold these separately, it would roughly be close to $3,000. We discounted it down $1,000 down to $19.95, but for the next 3 or so days, we're discounting it even more down to $14.95, but this is for a limited time only. If that's still too difficult a price for you to meet, don't worry, call up one of our trading consultants and we can put together a trading plan so you can just make monthly or weekly payments and you'll be able to pay it off rather soon. So here's the information in which to contact us. You can go to our sister site, which is Pro Trader Strategies. They market and promote all of my individual techniques and strategies. And you can contact any one of their trading consultants by emailing them either at trading@protraderstrategies.com or calling them directly at 310-598-6677. That's the way to contact them to get that special deal, that special discount, as well as if you'd like to get some type of a payment plan. Okay? I'm going to leave this up on the screen, so if anyone wants to copy this down for further information, and I'm going to open up the question and answer box. And I want to thank you all for holding off on any questions, and I'll try to go back and answer them. Let's see. Someone is asking, hello, Hemant. Hemant is a student of ours who is from India. He says, sir, with the help of the Pet D, what is the exit method? First red bar below or third red bar below? Well, Hemant, I don't want to say what the exit method is because that's in the course, and that comes with the purchase of it. So, we gave 2 of the rules for strategy number 4, but we just don't want to give all of the rules away. So I'm sorry I can't really give away that information. Seb says he's purchased the Pet D and he uses candles, but they look different. If you look on the right, you'll see the answer to this. If you look different on different platforms, but we have templates you can install in order to use candlesticks. Send us an email and we can set up a time for tech support to get you set up. So you see, we're really hands-on. We don't want to just give you this information and then say, good luck. As you can see here, that someone wasn't happy with the way they looked with candlesticks, and our trading consultants will set up a time with you so we can fix a template so that it can work perfectly. So don't worry, everything will fit nicely and you'll be able to see it very easily on your computer. Hemant also says strategy 4 is working well with the combination of Pet D. Sometimes it is going well, but buy well in Pet D color red. For this kind of signal, how to find any more calculation? Well, right now we're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We just want to keep it really consistent. I know sometimes you will get a nice signal when it is colored red. As we showed you earlier in that CMG example, the second signal was colored red, and had you only looked at that, you would have missed the trade entirely. But if you went a week earlier, you see that there was one prior to that colored green that you could have taken and been in the trade. So, this is something right now we just want to stick with the filter. This is something you can do in your own research and see if there is any consistency. But we have found no consistency. A much better odds for success when you're in sync with the short-term trend. Okay, let's see here. Larry's asking, is the Pet D signal generation after the close or during the trading day? Good question, Larry. No, the Pet D updates dynamically. So it's not a signal, it's a color bar. So it's basically just changing the color of the bar, and that updates dynamically. So if you're watching a 5-minute chart, you can see it change from green to red depending on how the bar is moving. If you're watching a daily bar chart, you'll see it, and then once it closes in the last 5 minutes, you know that it's pretty much going to close at that color. Therefore, you can jump in on a signal before the next date if you'd like. But no, it's not something that you have to wait for the end of the day, okay? John says, what does this system say about the current euro yen and British pound? Well, first of all, this is not a system. Remember, we only teach and trade strategies. That's why we want to make you a part of the process. You can't be a part of the process of a system. And that's what I said in the very beginning of this presentation. You want to become a part of the process. That's what will ultimately get you consistent in the markets. So these are all strategies that we teach and trade. Secondly, I don't have a current chart of the euro yen and the British pound, so I'm sorry to say I can't give you any information on that. John asks, does the PET-D work well with candles, and does it work well on all platforms? Well, John, just before I go into further in that question, yes, it does. I use it on a daily basis with candles and without. So it works fine. Once again, if you're having trouble we can set up a time for one of our tech support guys to help you so that it meets your needs. And so if you're worried about the requirements of what it looks like, or if it fits your charts, we can work with you on that so that it will. But we've really had no complaints. Once we've had the people contact our trading support, they've been very happy with the results. A common question we have, will it be available on TOS Thinkorswim? And as you can see in the right-hand corner, John, it will never be available through the Thinkorswim platform since proprietary algorithms can't be protected. So in other words, everything is available or open. You can open everything up and see, anyone can just view it and copy it down and sell it if they'd like. Therefore, the NinjaTrader chart add-on is free and the best way to use the PET-D when you still enter trades in the Thinkorswim platform. Our tech support guys, once again, can set you up with that, going through that, and you can just get a free NinjaTrader platform and use that with the PET-D in strategy number 4, okay? John asks, why did you get a signal to buy when the PET-D says the opposite? Well, remember, the PET-D is not saying to buy or sell. The PET-D is telling you the short-term trend. So in other words, the strategy number 4 is giving you a signal based off of the overall trend. PET-D is just telling you what the short-term trend is, so it's filtering out, maybe giving you greater odds for success. But they're not two different strategies, okay? Remember, we only stated at the beginning, in the first 10 minutes of this, the PET-D is a short-term trend identifier, just the way you could use another tool to be a short-term trend identifier. Let's say you used a moving average to be a short-term trend identifier. Well, the moving average, a 200-period moving average isn't going to give you signals. It's just telling you where the trend is. So it's the same thing with the PET-D, but the PET-D is much more fine-tuned to give you that. Now, when you add that with structure, such as strategy 4, you can really increase your odds for success, such as the roughly 50 or so examples I just showed you from this past month. Does this subscription include opportunity signals? I'm not sure what you mean by opportunity signals, and also this is not a subscription. Once you own this for life, so this is yours to keep. It's not something that, it's a subscription and then once it's over, it reverts back to us. We teach you how to trade with strategy 4, so once you have the rules, you can use this for the rest of your life. The PET-D will be yours as well. It's lifetime, okay? Okay, let me go down and get some more questions here. I think I may have just purchased something. Stefan asks, I have strategy 4, which I'm using and doing well, doing good. How do I add PET-D if in with strategy 4 on Ninja? Is there a cost since I already purchased strategy 4? That's a good question, Stephen. Don't worry. If you've, we're not going to charge you double for that. Just contact our trading consultants, and they can set you up with some type of deal because you've already been a purchaser of one of our techniques and it's working. So we'll just set you up with the PET-D, and you can, probably prorate it or make it match. So don't worry about it. But I would contact them soon, though, so you can take advantage of the current special that we have. Okay. Can the color bars be changed to different colors? In other words, blue or yellow? You can change the colors on the PET-D, but that depends on the platform you use. Okay, so it all depends on which platform you're currently using. I know that with TradeStation you cannot. Okay, but it depends on which one you're using. Once again, these are questions for our trading consultants. You can call them up and ask them, and they can set you up real quick. Are the add-ons coded for MT4? Yes, they are. The four major charting platforms we use this with are TradeStation, NinjaTrader, which can be applied with thinkorswim, also Metastock and MT4. So those are the major platforms that you can use both of these with. And we can also set up times with our tech support to help you, get a template so it can work and you can have the charts meet your needs, okay? Sev says, Steve, just to say your tech man, AJ, was fantastic in installing the PET-D, a real professional. Thank you. See that? Well, thank you, Sev. This is what we're talking about. You never really have to worry in terms of, thinking that, well, boy, they sold me this stuff. I have no idea how to use this or what to do. We have great tech support, and we can be there with you every step of the way to make sure that you understand how to use it. Secondly, you have the educational support from me. So I'm the one who's contacting you with any questions on how to actually trade. So we're there with you once again every step of the way. We are an educational company. We're not trying to sell you a system and say good luck, just follow the rules, or just when it gives you a buy arrow, just blindly buy without asking why. We want you to be a part of the process. So we have great tech support. We have great trading consultants to help you, furnish you with a trading plan and to put together some type of payment plans as well. We have great tech support to help you set it up. And then we have myself to pat myself on the back to help you educate yourself so that you can know how to use it. Okay? So I'm glad you're happy, Seth. I'm glad it's working for you. First time, let's see. I'm trying to understand your question, Hemeth. I'll come back to that. Let me ask some more first ones. I'm sorry, Hemeth, because you're from India. I don't understand exactly. Mike says, is this a program that one can put in a symbol and get buy and sell arrows? Yes, this is strategy 4. Remember, you cannot get that with PET-D. The PET-D is simply a short-term trend identifier. But strategy number 4 does generate signals, so that will generate buy and sell arrows. In other words, the way I showed you some examples where those arrows were, you simply have to punch up a chart, however far you want to go back, whatever time frame you're looking at, and you punch up the strategy, and it will generate those arrows for you, tell you where the signals were. Okay, so it's up to you. James asked, does this work with TradeStation? Yes, it does tremendously. I used all the snapshots that I took today in today's presentation were taken from a TradeStation platform. So yes, it does. Abbas asked, can we see today a 15-minute chart on the euro dollar? I'm sorry to say, once again, this is just it's not a dynamic, it's a static presentation from a PowerPoint presentation. I don't have access to the charts right now, so Abbas, I'm sorry, I can't pull that up. Mohan asks, do you have a setup where it will show all the trades that have signals for buy and sell in one window? I'm not sure what you're saying. In other words, if you're Mohan, if you're asking about the chart, if you're looking at a chart, yes, it will show you all the buy and sells in that one chart, if that's what you're asking. You can also set up, if you're talking about a scan, yes, we show you ways with our tech support how to set up a scan so that you can get all the buy and sells for that day, if that's what you're looking at in one particular stock. Okay, so there's lots of ways to find out, but the great thing is that strategy number 4 generates a lot, and I mean a lot, of signals. If you're looking at the S&P 500, that can virtually be a good 100 or 200 signals a night in a very volatile market. We're not saying you have to take each and every signal, but through my education, I teach you which are the best ones or ones you should be looking for to take signals. I give you little tips and techniques, that things that you should be looking for on the chart that give you a higher degree for success, okay? So if that's what you're looking for, all you have to do is punch up a particular stock, punch up strategy 4, and the arrows will appear. If you want to create a scan, you can do that very easily as well, and you'll see a scan of all the strategy number 4 signals for that day. Okay, Mon? It's a great strategy. Once again, our most popular strategy to date. Another thing I want to mention, I know that some people like to trade different markets. So you can trade the Forex markets and you can trade stocks using the exact same strategy. It's nothing you have to really change or alter. You can trade a 5-minute E-mini chart and a weekly Forex chart if you'd like. So it mixes and matches really well. All the strategies and signals I showed you were using the same format. We didn't change anything. Byrne asks, although the PET-D works on all time frames, does it show more favorable on any specific time frame? No, Byrne. What it does is, as with any tool or technique, when you go into a choppy market, you're going to see it going from green to red, green to red, green, and that happens all the time. But remember, we're looking for a series of either 3 to 5 closes, either green to tell you that the trend will continue up, or 3 to 5 closes in red tell you that we're going lower. So that's really what helps you stay out of a lot of chop. In terms of what the best time frame is, no, I've seen it work. We showed you a monthly chart of the S&P 500, and I showed you a 3,000 tick bar chart from today. Okay, I've also showed you daily bar charts, so there's great examples in all time frames. Let's see, Harry is asking, the strategy number 4 enters long on a bar that closes in its top 25%. Do you mean that you enter on the next bar after the close? Henry, that's all in the course. Once again, just like the other gentleman tried to ask, that comes with the course rules. There are different ways to enter, and we just don't want to go into it. I already gave you what the qualifications and requirements are for two of the rules, but I just can't go in for entering and exits and stops, because then I'm giving away everything, and there's no reason for you to buy strategy for. I want you to have faith and see how well this works and become a part of the process. It's a great strategy. I've been trading this for a good 20-25 years. Fred says, is there a filter included with your software in search for trades? No, but once again, you can create a scan, and our tech support will help you how to put that together, show you and help you put that together so you can have a scan really easily. I know with Metastock users, it's real simple how to do that. Let's see, does it work with MT4? Yes, it does. William, it works very well. Let's see. Confirming, yes, it works on TradeStation. Can we call up for a live demo before paying? We're sorry, Abbas, we don't have any live demos because this is 30 years worth of information and trading that we've been using ourselves, and the PET-D and Strategy 4 is information that a lot of people like to take, and they'll for lack of a better word, just steal from us and then send it out to the masses. That's been happening to us before in the past. And plus, we're giving you great information in good faith. Information, once again, that I stated in the first opening statements, that these are things I use in my own personal trading. So I'm sharing with you what I trade and how I trade. And so if you do a Google search, if you see our reputation online, you'll see that there's not a lot of people that are upset that haven't found some consistency with our methods. So we're, as we said, we're an educational company. We're trying to get you on that road to consistency through the things that I've seen that work through time. So we don't, for that reason, we don't have demos to use, because someone uses them for a week and then figures them out, and then or something similar, and then says they're not interested. Yes, that's Robert asks, is this being recorded? I'm sorry, I usually mention that. Yes, all of our presentations are recorded, so you can request, go to the email address or the phone number, and a link will be sent to you. Okay? Let's see, there are strategies for exit, and what if you change to a new computer? Well, just as you see there, just contact us and we will give you a download for a new computer. Okay, so don't worry. If once again, if you purchase our Dynamic Duo and then you go into another computer, or it crashes and you want to use something else, don't worry. We'll give you the download for a new computer. We'll do that in good faith. Oh, Mohan was asking, is there a scan of my favorites? Well, no, Mohan, what I do is every night for our strategy number 4 stock course members is I list the signals that I feel are the best signals for the next day for trading stocks. And those are my personal recommendations. Those are for people in the stock courses. So if you want to become a member of our stock course, you'll see my personal recommendations for the next day. But that's only in stocks. If you're in our E-mini college or E-mini members, you will see our signals generated on daily bars. And if you are in our Forex college, you will see signals for our daily bars as well. But intraday, we can't do it because there's just too many time frames. Some people try to trade tick charts, others trade 5-minute, others trade 30. So we only give you signals, my best recommendations for daily bars. But it all depends on what format you want to be in, okay? Let's see here. Can we sort the scan opportunity somehow to rank the potential trades so that we can pick the best one each day? Well, yes. I mean, it depends on what platform you use. On the right there, many platforms allow you to run a scan for Strategy 4 setup, which can go to be applied to Pet D for confirmation. So as you see here, it all depends, as you see in the answer in your right-hand portion of the box. Once again, you can call us up and we can help you with that and set that up, as that other gentleman said. Hemeth is saying, I'm sorry, I said I thought you said you told 60% of your secret in this webinar. Some people will use this webinar to them trading without purchase of the strategy. Is it really okay for you? Oh no, I didn't give 60%. I only gave 2 of the rules, which is maybe about 20%. So I didn't give that much away. Trust me, it wouldn't be fair to the people who have purchased this. It wouldn't be fair to us. Why would we want to give away everything for free? And it wouldn't be fair to the prospective customers, because in good faith, it's up to you to learn how to use this. I can almost guarantee if I gave you all the rules for free, you most likely wouldn't make money, because you need that hand-holding. You need my education to tell you the better signals from the ones that aren't that, that have too much risk or aren't really in sync with the Pet D. So you need to paper trade in this process. No, Emmett, I did not give away 60% of the rules. That wouldn't be fair to our customers. It wouldn't be fair to our company. Okay. Let's see, can you use the platform to find a trade and then execute the trade with our broker's platform, like Fidelity? No, at this time, I don't believe we can. Remember, we want, as I stated, you to be a part of the process, and once you rely on somebody else to do your trading for you, you take yourself out of the game. So if that's what you're asking, that's really not our philosophy. We want you to be entering orders, to be placing orders. We don't want someone to automatically do it for you, because then you take yourself out and then you're not responsible. I want you to be responsible and to be a part of this process. There may be ways to be around it, but at that time we don't really pursue that. I have time for just 1 or 2 more questions because we're running late here. In the next webinar, could we include more examples in our Euro-Dollar 15-minute charts? Okay, I'll try to remember that if there's anything provided there in the Euro-Dollars. Fred asks, which platform do you use? I mainly use TradeStation because I give a great deal of webinars on a daily basis, and TradeStation is not better than Metastock or NinjaTrader, but for presentation purposes, the charts, it's easier to make presentations. So I'm sure most of you do not make presentations, so you don't have to worry about that. But for someone who has to make 5 presentations a week, you want to use something that is the easiest to use, and that's why I use TradeStation more often than not. Okay. I want to thank you all for showing up today and taking advantage of finding all the great information and this great discount we have for you. I know if you apply this dynamic duo, the Pet D with strategy number 4, you will really increase your odds for success. Strategy number 4 in and of itself is a great strategy that has a very high level of consistency. But having said that, there are some trades that will not work, as I showed you with SNDK and some other trades, I believe GIS, where there was a signal that didn't work. Once we apply the Pet D as a filter to tell us if the signal is in sync with the short trend, then we're really increasing our odds for success, and we have a very powerful dynamic duo to use. The best thing about this is that you can apply strategy number 4 not only to stocks, but if you're also an E-mini intraday trader, you can use it there as well. Or if you like to trade longer-term Forex currency pairs, you can use it there. The best thing about the Pet D is that you can use it on other strategies. You can also use it as a long-term tool as identifying the trend, as I showed you with that 20-year chart of the S&P. So there's multiple uses with both of these. We just showed you a great platform here using it as a dynamic duo. But we're getting a wealth of powerful information and techniques in this package. So I really strongly suggest, if you want to take your trading to the next level, take advantage of this special we have. Drop down roughly 50% from when we usually sell them individually for close to $3,000. We've dropped it down to $14.95, and if that's still difficult for you to meet in one lump sum, you can put together a payment plan with any one of our trading consultants. Just email them at the email address right in front of you, or call them, the phone number right there, and you will be able to get all the information, all the entries, all the stops, all the exits, as well as all the ways in which to use the PET-D, okay? I want to thank you so much for attending. I look forward to seeing you in the next presentation, and I look forward to all of you becoming members of the PET-D and the Strategy #4 courses. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.